Hello and welcome back to the Macca's Talk Hockey Podcast, the podcast where me and my brother and Dan talk about English ice hockey, specifically the NIHL. And it's been a busy week of games. We had some midweek games last week, with Sheffield against Hull, Telford against Peterborough, and then we had the Friday one, which we went to as well, which we'll talk about. But yeah, there's lots to talk about in this episode. We've also got a very special interview with Matt Haywood, from the Leeds Knights. And it was probably the most chill interview we've had. Really nice guy, Charlie.
Yeah, he's a cool guy. He's got a really undercover sense of humor. He's really funny, and yeah, I think he gives a good insight from like a player side, and yeah, he's a Leeds Knights legend. So I'm sure a lot of you will be watching the podcast today, and yeah, he loves the club. He loves Leeds to bits, and yeah, you don't want to miss it if you're a National League fan,
Yeah.
because he's a cool guy.
Yeah, so the order we normally do it, we normally bring up any news, a couple talking points we got this week, which is pretty cool before we get into the Hayward interview. We'll do that, we'll play that, and then we'll talk about all the games afterwards. So yeah, a really nice interview, and it's set to be a good episode again. And we appreciate all the support we've had on the podcast. But yeah, let's crack into it. I don't think there's really too much news. There wasn't really any bans. Boyce got a ban, 3 game ban, but we haven't had any this weekend. Now, the first bit of news was, well, Dan, do you wanna, if you're watching, Dan's got his Bison jersey on. We had some news on Basingstoke, and basically they're gonna try and start refurbishing. Am I right, Dan?
Yeah, they shut the rink with when you're listening on Sunday. They shut the rink on Sunday night. So yeah, they should hopefully be starting the refurbishment very soon, from what we've read. Nothing I don't think has been fully confirmed, but it's looking pretty hopeful that they're gonna do it. And yeah, just fingers crossed they don't find anything anything that's even worse than what they thought when they go into it. But yeah, fingers crossed we should be back very soon.
Yeah. I think the main thing is just getting them back at some point, whether that's a long process, just at least there's some kind of light at the end of the tunnel in terms of Basingstoke, because they're a massive part of mine and Charlie's National League viewing as a fan, and they're a big club. So hopefully, and for Dan's sake as well, hopefully they can come back. And selfishly, me and Charlie were saying actually, if Basingstoke come back, that probably means that, well, it does mean that we won't see Dan as much, but we know that you've missed the Basingstoke
Well,
games there. So,
I
but
mean, if
yeah,
you want to come and support the Bison with me, then
no,
you're more than welcome to. I think I could probably grab a few fans over, um, because we are the best team, of course, and Basingstoke never dies. So
But yeah, it's some good news, and hopefully we get some more updates throughout the season. Whether they don't come back next season, whether it's 2 years, 3 years, hopefully they'll be back at some point. So that was a good little update. And then the second talking point, me and Charlie literally just thought we'd bring it up, is commentary in the National League, because it's caused a bit of controversy on
uh-oh.
Twitter. So
Uh-oh.
there's been a lot of
Baby.
so if you're not
Hey!
aware, each team now has live streams, and we're still a semi-professional team, which means that the clubs are run by volunteers, and I think that's the key thing. Fan volunteers. There's a couple like Swindon. You got Begsy, who's unbiased, and he just loves hockey and he knows the National League inside and out. But the rest of the teams pretty much are fans who are taking on that role of doing commentary. Now, there's been a lot of backlash online saying that the commentators are way too biased, celebrating goals, and just, yeah, not really bigging up the opposition as much. So yeah, we thought we'd talk about it. Charlie, will come to you first because I know you finally put a tweet out responding to him saying, "Well, I'll let you go on. You speak."
I've had enough. It's just frustrating, really, because it's like they don't get paid. Like the same way, like with our podcast, we don't get paid. So like we're kind of just fans. We have opinions and stuff. And there's two sides to it, right? They're going to enjoy the game. They are fans. If I was commentating, I'd go mental over goals for Swindon. I do in real life. And I understand that. But then I also understand the other side is people expect quite high things from the streams because they cost quite a pretty penny. They're not cheap streams. They're like £16, I think, for most streams, roughly. And so people expect it. But sadly, we're in a league where obviously you can't afford to pay your commentators, I don't know, 100 quid a game. So you get the top notch commentary. The commentators are getting a free ticket and they get to come in and watch it. And I find, like, for example, the Peterborough commentators, I find them quite funny, especially when they're not into my team, because they just love it. They absolutely love hockey, and so they celebrate the Peterborough goals as they would. The same way Telford are quite similar, I believe, and I haven't heard Solways before and stuff. But I think my one thing I'd say is if you don't like the commentary, there's a mute button on the TV remote, and you can always use that. It becomes a bit of a trend, doesn't it? When one person tweets about the hockey, the commentary, people are always looking out for it. So they'll all tweet about the commentary. And
Yeah.
I'm like, it's just like, yeah, if you don't like the commentary, mute it. It's the semi-professional league where people don't get paid for it. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I
anyway, I
think,
love the Phantoms commentators. They're great fun.
is there bias in commentators? Yes. Is there, and this is another thing actually. I did 3 years in sports journalism, so I've understood a level of professionality. Professionality. Oh, I don't know if that's a word, but if I was to go and do commentary, I think, well, on this podcast, we've had so many people say that we're quite unbiased and we like talking about other teams and bigging up other teams and just try and be positive about other teams and not just focus it around Swindon. And I think you've got a lot of new commentators coming in who haven't got that experience, but they're still hungry and really want to help out their team and do some commentary. And they've had no journalistic experience to do commentating, but because they're passionate about it, they want to do it. And I don't. Yes, yes, the commentators can take on advice and can take on criticisms, if you want to call it that, on Twitter, saying they're too biased. But there's been a lot of new commentators because now every team has a stream, and I think just need to chill out a bit. I think if any other fan was going to commentate on their team, they would have a little bit of bias and they'd want to celebrate the goals. And I think, again, like you were laughing about it, Charlie, the Peterborough boys, they've been supporting Peterborough for their life. So they're going to get excited and happy when Peterborough score. But what I will say is, I've also heard on the same stream the Peterborough commentators giving credit and giving big ups to the other team when they do good things as well. They'll say it's a great save. One of their phrases is "Call 999." There's been a robbery. They'll say that if the opposition game team makes a great save. So there's a level of it, but it's not that much of a big deal. And I think you can get wound up by it. But as Charlie said, if it is that much of a problem, just mute it. Dan, anything to add on that?
No, I think you pretty much covered it all. To be fair, I agree. And another thing as well, if you don't like the stream, just head to the game and just
Mm.
commentate on it yourself.
And I understand there's people who can't maybe travel 4 or 5 hours up to Leeds and Sheffield and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, it's a semi-professional league. You've not got these professional commentators, and I think it just shows a bit of passion as well. And they're only
Great
going
that
to
we've all
learn
got
by doing
streams.
more.
It's great that we were able to put on the streams. When
Yeah.
we started watching, and not every team had streams.
But it's never. You can also criticize, but it's the way you
Yeah,
criticize as
yeah.
well. I'd
And you've
like.
got to remember these commentators are people. They have social media, they have Twitter.
Yeah.
And like you see after games, man, like the whole fan base, they're not even talking about performance, they're talking about a commentator.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I get it, but at the same time, it's like there is a mute button.
There was a certain individual, and I'm not going to call it out, but he basically borderline verbally abused them on Twitter. That's the wrong way to go about it. You don't you can criticize without abusing someone on Twitter. I think that was for the Raiders MK game. Yeah, there's a way of criticizing and giving some advice to some new commentators. But yeah, that's all we'll say on it. And I'd love to be able to commentate. I think we might have the opportunity to this season to maybe commentate a couple of games, if the games come up. So yeah, but I thought we'd bring it up because it's been a hot topic. And you've got our opinions on it, and you might have other opinions, but who cares? Right, let's get into the Matt Haywood interview. So we hope you've enjoyed. We hope you enjoy that one, and then we'll be back with all the results and roundups of week 8. Welcome back. We got another very special guest. Charlie, do you want to introduce him?
Yes, we'd like to welcome on a man who's played at many levels of English hockey. He's played at Great Britain's international and even taken the trip to Australia. He is a legend of the Glasgow clan, but he has recently come down to the National League and won back-to-back league titles. So we'd like to welcome on Matt Haywood. How are
How
you
we
doing?
doing, mate?
Good, thanks. Thanks for having me, boys. Thank you.
Was it
Good four.
Australia or New Zealand?
Australia, yeah, as an Adelaide for
Yeah.
half the season.
I'm sure we'll get to that in a minute. 4 point weekend, a tough one. But again, you guys just battled through it and got the 4 points.
Yeah, really tough weekend actually. They thought they played really well. Telford, those new inputs, they've got to really revitalise them, and
Hmm.
it definitely wasn't the first or second versus 10th
Yeah.
game. They really ran us close, and we had to really dig deep. And both goalies played really well. So
Mhm.
I don't think they were the biggest spectacles we've ever played, but they made us really work for it. So yeah, credit for them. I think they deserve more than 0 points out of the weekend. That's for
Well, it was a close game earlier on this season as well. I think you guys snuck it 6-4 as well. So it seems like it's a weird one with Telford, isn't it? Because as you said, that it didn't feel like a first 10th matchup.
sure. No, listen, I'd be very surprised if they finish 10th at the end
Mm.
of this year. You know what all Tommy's teams are like. Very well, hard working and stick to a system. They got some good players, so yeah, I don't. They won't finish 10th this year. I don't.
Yeah.
That's
How have you found this season then? Because I think you were the last player to be announced on the team. There was a lot of Knights fans wondering, is he going to sign back? But you did sign back for this season. So how are you feeling going in? Well, with the season started,
uh, feeling quite old with this team.
you're not that
Uh,
old.
I'm not that old, but I feel very old on the Leeds team. But yeah, yeah. Listen, it was quite funny. Obviously, me and my wife were sat seeing all these things about if I was signing back, but I'd already signed back 2 months in advance. So it was quite funny to it was quite funny seeing all that unfold. But yeah, it's been going good. I mean, it's not been a bit of a indifferent start from us. I know, but we've been fortunate enough to have those starts where I think that first year we won 15,
Yeah,
16 out of the first games or whatever. And that's obviously doesn't happen every year, ever. Um, but definitely the league has stepped up a notch. Um, I feel that there's not that there's easy games in the league, but we kind of got rolling over a few teams, and we haven't done that this year. Maybe once or twice, but I think it's I think with everyone adding that third import and majority of teams going with either a defenseman or a goalie, it's definitely made it a well more balanced league, and
yeah,
it's you can't just go in not play very well but still squeak by because we've got a bit of firepower or whatever. You have to really turn up every night and really
yeah,
respect your opponents these days. Yeah, it's really good.
yeah.
Mhm.
Go on, Charlie.
And we have seen this year, obviously Leeds set the standard very high over the last 2 years. I think you got 46 wins last year. So you only dropped 8 games out of 54. We have seen this year it is the lower end teams have taken that step up,
Yeah.
and it means that everyone's got to step up. So have you felt you've had to step your game up this year?
I mean, yeah, I mean, there's that factor of winning it twice and then trying to find not your motivation, but it's a bit of a hangover from winning it. And
Yeah,
I know we've kept the most majority of the team as well. So is there a degree of oh, we're just going to come in and win it again? And you know what I mean? And you got to find that hunger and stuff. I think we maybe had a bit of a not a slow start, maybe a bit of a hangover, I'd kind of say.
mm.
But I think we've definitely last few weeks definitely found our mojo again and we're heading in the right direction.
We got to get into it. Obviously, you've got that line this season. You, Matty Barron, and Mr. Bissonnette. How have you found playing with Matt? We know the quality he has. He'll put it on your stick.
Which Matt?
Wow, Bissonnette and Barron, they've both been smashing it. But obviously, Bissonnette being the new one coming in. How's it been playing with him? I bet you've never played with a player like him before.
Well, let me just say, it might be the fastest line I've ever played on in my life. Um,
Really?
no, opposite, the absolute opposite. I was just joking. No, listen, it's easy playing with those two. I think we're three quite similar players, really. all through the ice fairly well, and team first kind of guy. So it just seems to have clicked this year that way, and thankfully we've managed to get a few goals and help the team win. But yeah, long may it kind of continue.
Every goal just seems to have Bissonnette on the assist. It's just it gets a bit of a joke now.
Yeah, he might be chiseling a few of them, but yeah, no, listen, we've played against him in the Elite League, played against him down here. You know how much quality he has when he's on that puck, and I think he'll openly admit himself maybe taking a week or two to get used to our
Yeah,
style of play, especially after the year Sheffield had last year. Very easy to get disengaged with what everything was going on. But yeah, he's really brought in and he's excelling. He's working hard, team first, and can't force exactly what you want from your input guys, and he fits right into our dressing room as well, which
yeah,
is just an
that's good.
absolute bonus. Yeah.
Go
Mhm.
on, Charlie.
So let's take it back to the Sheffield days. You were brought up in the Sheffield Academy, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
and then you obviously went through the Sheffield system, even making your debut for the Steelers in the Elite Leagues. You kind of played at all levels in the Sheffield system. What was that like coming up through? I think it was quite a good crop of players as well.
Well, listen, that doesn't really get spoke about enough. I don't think how many elite slash EPL slash NIHL whatever and now players came out of that system. Even guys who are still there now, like Ben Bounds being the number one guy, and
Yeah,
Ben O'Connor, everyone like things like that. Dowdy still there. He was obviously a Bellingham boy, but he moved to Sheffield when he was
yeah,
16 or whatever. Yeah, listen, that was probably one of the best junior systems around. It probably was. We were winning national titles. We was expected to win national titles, things like that. So it was good. Obviously, played up. Um, my brother's two years older than me, along with like he was with Ben O'Connor's age, things like that. So getting to play with those guys, even not even like play, but like train with them, and
yeah.
a really big development. For us, we used to do like a Sunday practice, but you had to be a selected group. It could be no matter what your age group. If you were a certain standard, you could go on. It was
Mm.
playing with all those guys at like 13, whatever. It was really really good. Yeah, like I say, making it all the way through, and obviously went to watch Steelers when I was a little boy. That's how I got into it, and then managed to play. I think I played 4 or 5 games for them or whatever it is. But yeah, it's kind of dream come true, isn't it?
And there was a lot of those boys you just mentioned as well, representing GB under 18s, under 20s. How was that playing for your nation for the first time?
Yeah, I think my first. I never made England, or I even went to like an England trial
Oh,
all the way.
really?
Yeah, until I got to GB 18s. Never. I was quite a late bloomer. I think I was
Yeah.
always a third line kind of guy, and then when I got to last year 16s, I went. Me and a few of the Sheffield guys went to Sweden and really worked on my skating, and I think it really propelled me a little bit. But yeah, obviously went to GB under 18s, went to Estonia. I think the first year we went.
Oh, nice.
Playing with obviously guys who are still in the league now, and Robert Lakovic and everyone like that. And I'm name dropping a few people on this podcast,
Yeah,
aren't
no.
I? Jesus, sorry about that. Yeah, so that was amazing. Obviously, playing with all your friends, and I think Bully might have been on that team as well.
Yeah, I think he might have been, yeah.
Yeah, and everyone always says it's the best thing you can do, and then it's just hearing the anthem after you win, stuff like that. You're only 17, 16, 17, whatever, and obviously making the 20s, and then finally making the senior debut is actually very special. I think. I don't think you realise how special it is until you're actually there. Do you
But
know
you've
what I
done
mean?
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Go on, Charlie.
Yeah, it's quite something. Doing the whole kind of GB setup, the 18s, the 20s, and then the men's. But after Steelers, you made your way where you stayed there for quite a long time in the Scottish League, well, the Scottish side of the Elite League in Glasgow, and you really started to develop your game. It seems there, the points started to go up, and
yeah.
you looks like you got that consistent ice time.
Yeah, it was, but don't forget, when I first moved up back in the day, it was only 10 imports. To- totally different,
Yeah.
totally different league to what it is now. Um,
So yeah, Brits were on a solid third line, power play, bit of penalty kill, whatever.
Yeah.
Big role, and obviously the input never scored up and up. That's a story for another day. So I got a lot more opportunity now than what young
Yeah.
kids growing up would get. So that's probably why my points were a little bit higher, and then got less and less as my time went on. But, but yeah, it was good fun. Listen, I owe everything to that club. I think, not just hockey wise, but obviously set me up for life. Found my now wife, and obviously still living up in Scotland. So yeah, so I can't really complain about the move I made there.
Did you think you'd be playing there for when you first moved there? Did you think you'd be staying there for 10 years?
No, well, definitely not. Like, I moved up because I was kind of training with Corey Nielsen, ironically, who's the coach
Yeah.
now. I went to Canada as well. Did a few camps with him, and a few of you, I think a few of the guys you'll know when the EPL kind of went.
Yeah.
Bully and Will Weldon and people like that. And the Glasgow club got made, and Bully actually signed up here as well with me. I don't know
Did
if you
it?
know that. Yeah, and then but they signed too many Brits, and they kind of and that's actually the year that Sam came down to you guys.
Yeah.
So I was fortunate enough to be up here, and yeah, it was good. It was a good time for me because like it's a new club, so there was no established Brits. I didn't have to go in, so
Yeah.
I kind of it was a little bit easier for me to kind of get established and like you say, no, it wasn't the intention. Obviously, my grandma actually told me. I always joke about this with my wife, but as soon as I moved up to Glasgow, she said, "Don't you be getting a Scottish girlfriend or whatever?" And ended up marrying one. So
Yeah.
Um, Obviously Charlie mentioned you played up in Australia, and that's kind of the opposite to is it opposite seasons to the British season? So
yeah,
they play when the Elite League has their break. Was it an intent? Was it always an intention to go out and play somewhere else to keep the legs going at a young age?
not really. It kind of happened. I was one of the guys on my team. I was really good friends with Kev Phillips, Davey Phillips' brother,
Yeah, yeah,
my
yeah.
brother, and Kev and Davey both went out one year. I think Davey came home after a few days. Didn't really like him too much, but Kev stayed, and then but he obviously came to Glasgow, and he wanted to go back, so he was going back, and I wasn't. I didn't want to go, whatever. And then halfway through the season, halfway through the summer, which is their season, that one of their imports left, so he gave me a call, and I was like, "There's 6 weeks till the season starts, and I don't usually skate before the season starts, so I thought I'd give it a go." I was obviously I don't know what age I was, but I had no responsibilities at that time, and went over. Had a good time. It was really good. Obviously, free trip to Australia, and you got to travel around. And
Yeah.
the hockey. But I met some really nice people over there, and I would absolutely have done it again. And I
Yeah.
recommend it for any person to go over to do it. It's great.
Yeah.
Such a good place to be.
That's good that you got to go and experience it kind of in another country because there's a lot of Brits who just stay in the UK their whole career
Yeah.
really.
It was weird being the import actually. I've never
Oh
actually
yeah, I
experienced it.
spot that
Yeah, like
actually.
I remember being like, oh, I kind of expected to do something over here, you know. So that was weird, but yeah, the standard of hockey was a bit different. The reference standard was there was very poor, but hopefully that's improved now.
Go on, Charlie.
But you obviously you got your move to Leeds Knights, which was I believe it's their third season as Leeds, but it was their second year under the now regime, and you were in an honest way one of the more experienced players of a very young roster. And to be honest, that season you set a new standard for the National League. To talk us through that season because it was quite something from the National League. It really took that step up, I think.
Well, how did the move even come about? Because obviously dropping down to the national, what kind of gave you the appeal to go to Leeds?
Well, to be honest, I wasn't. I was borderline. Obviously, everything with Glasgow, and I wasn't going back to Glasgow. I was borderline, almost thinking I was just going to find a job, and because
Really?
it's difficult. It's difficult with living in Scotland. There's not many. there's not many teams. Obviously, there's
Solway
Dundee and
weren't there
Fife
at
in
that
the
point.
elite league. Solway weren't in.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were down, which was an option, but that's still an hour away from me. So it's not easy to play up here.
Yeah.
And obviously, I think Sammy Zajac just messaged me one day, kind of asking what I was doing. Because obviously I play with Sammy up here, and um, obviously got really really good friends even to this day. And he said, "Oh, let me see what Rise thing is," and Ryan gave me a call, and obviously played against Ryan when I was
Yeah.
younger. I was quite intimidated on that phone call, I'd say, because he was a scary guy when I used to play against him. Uh, so yeah, but honestly, spoke to him, and I think honestly, it took one conversation. I came off the phone with my wife, and I was like, it sounds incredible," sort of thing. Like, fortunately, he understood my situation. I don't have to go down
Yeah.
every 3-4 times a week, which would be impossible, which is I'm really grateful for. But yeah, the way he sold it to me was it was a building year that year. Wasn't expected to do anything, but he wanted to win stuff by the end of the second period, obviously last year.
Yeah.
And I think he just recruited amazingly well because
Yeah.
we had Brooksy, who was our second import, and still got 85 points. And then obviously we got Grant Cooper, which he just one of those signings that you just get right. You know what I mean? He just
Yeah.
came and blew the league apart.
It was
And
disgusting.
even after he left, we got Witt, and
I know.
you know, we all
Yeah.
know what Witt is like. But obviously, but we got Kieran. We had we had Cole shooter at the time. We had Adam Barnes, who was an
Yeah.
experienced player at that league.
You had
Uh,
Hazeldean at the back as well. He
Hazeldean,
was
Sammy as well.
strong.
Sammy's underrated.
Sammy, yeah.
Underrated, good. And then we also got Matt halfway through the year as well, which is
Me and Charlie were saying it's probably one of the strongest teams we've seen. Obviously, we got 3 imports now, but
yeah,
with the 2 import level and the Brits, looking at those Brits now, it's probably one of the strongest teams we've seen at this level.
yeah. I also think it was a little bit different trade over team in that league. 'Cause I think we set up we were very top 6, 7 heavy.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And the way it kind of worked out was it's just one of those seasons where everyone was happy that we scored, but because we had two established lines, it was almost like healthy competition. Like if
Yeah.
Kieran's line scored or whatever, we'd be happy. But then we're like, well, we can't not score if they score. I mean, it kind of worked out like that. I remember. I think I think early on we played you boys, and we won like 10-4 or something, and
I
we
think
came
Grant
away from
Cooper scored about five.
yeah, yeah, and we
I
came away
remember
from that
that as
game
well.
thinking we weren't the better team in that game. You know what I mean? We were
Oh, I remember that game.
we were
Yeah.
That's so
we were five
annoying.
nil. I think we were 5-0 up after the first, and we came and we were like we we were terrible. Like we just every goal we just every shot we had was like a bar down. It's
Yeah.
like
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
It was just one of those. It was we
That
were
was
like
the
it was such
first
a
time
weird
we watched.
game.
That was the first time we watched Grant Cooper, and
Hmm.
Oh,
obviously he'd been ripping it up before he played us, and
Hmm.
we were like, okay, let's see what he's about. And
see
just,
if
I think he
Quinton's
got a
It's
hat
defender.
trick
He's
in the
gonna have.
first period.
yeah. See the thing with Cooper, he wasn't like anything. He wasn't anything fancy. You know what I mean? He was just strong. He was quick, direct. He was quick, and he worked really hard. And yeah, obviously he could score a goal. He showed that even when he went up to the elite league afterwards, he was
Yeah.
still scoring a few points. And yeah, I think I can say we just hit the nail on the head. And obviously when you've got someone like Kieran as well, it's nice. It's nice that you know what I mean. Your top Brit's still scoring 125 points
Yeah,
wherever you go. It's nice and easy to have that.
what made me laugh about that team, just to add, is in this league, in the National League, often you have your imports as kind of your top guys. But
Mhm.
in that team, you had Kieran Brown, Cole Shudra, and Matt Haywood, top 3 point scorers.
I would like to have seen how many points Grant would have got if he'd have
Oh,
stayed the whole year. I think, but I think it took me until like 2 months after he left to get over his points or whatever it was. But
Yeah, Grant, I think he had something like 3 points a game at the level.
yeah, it was good fun. And I was trying to say, I remember Ryan saying after the awards night, like that doesn't happen every year. Let's not expect that, you know. So I think we lost maybe 3-4 games all year, didn't we? But yeah, it is what it is. I was trying to, because obviously it's such a young group, still to this day, trying to say like
yeah.
you shouldn't be winning 90% of your games, sort of thing. It's not normal, and obviously we're not going to do that this year because
Yeah.
the
Obviously, there's a
standards
lot
are
of
that high.
things which go into winning the league and you guys winning it, but What do you think kind of the main thing was? Because you had, as you said, you had a very young team, but you had a few older heads in the team, like you, Sammy as well,
Mhm.
Gozzy as well in goal. So what do you think the kind of because you always went in, even if it was a team on the lower end of the league, you
Mhm.
always just got the job done professionally, I think. And I think that's what stood out to me most about it because Swindon used to drop
Sorry.
some to those lower teams, MK used to drop some to those teams
Mhm.
at the bottom, but you guys just, you got the job done everywhere you went.
Well, I'm not going to tell you the secrets of the trade this early. No, I'm joking. Basically, what the whole ethos of the Leeds club is, and it's very much Ryan. It's forcing us is that we play to our standards, not to anybody else's. So it doesn't actually matter who we play. If we play a top end team, bottom end team, if you want to call them those things, doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And we don't get away from that. I think when you do get away from that, you kind of you get a bit too you get a bit too individual. You get away from your own what makes you good.
Yeah.
And I think over the last 2 years, I think that's what's kind of gave us that couple those few points advantage over other teams. Is even when we're not good ourselves, we're still at a higher standard than what we I think
Yeah.
that's what we kind of pride ourselves doing that. And that's all in-house driven, really. There's nothing outside factors that kind of like alter that. So I think that's a credit to the organisation and also that all the players that played there that have bought into it.
I think the stat was the bottom six of the league for the last 2 or 3 seasons. Leeds won 68 out of 70 games against those teams, and I think that is just the difference, really, just getting it done. I think there was a game in Romford. I think it was last season where I think you were down 4-3, and then you got it to 4-4 in like the last minutes, and then won it in overtime. And I don't know if it was the greatest of performances from you guys, but you just get it done. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, and I also mean that's also a privilege as well. You know that winning is a bit of a habit, same as losing. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
if you're in them situations and you've won the majority, 9 out of 10, like you go into a game expecting to win, your body language is a lot different to,
Yeah.
oh, we better not lose this sort of thing. It's all this, it's very mental. It's a whole mentality side of it that could get really boring for your listeners. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is, and also we've been fortunate enough to have guys on the team that have got skill and got skill in those moments where it matters. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's different.
Yeah.
That's the difference. Is when it actually when push comes to shove. I feel we've got a lot of players that do stand up to
Yeah.
them moments, and that's quite hard to find, especially at the
Yeah.
age a lot of them are at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think because we've been doing so well, I think people forget how young that team is. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
Hmm.
yeah, which is silly because it should go on your ability and stuff, but maturity is a big factor and experience. You know, you can't fake experience.
Yeah.
Hmm. The question I have, which I find quite funny, is obviously when you finished your time in the EPIHL and you went to the Elite League, your highest point scoring season in the Elite League, which was good, was 28 points, and you kind of consistently scoring between 15 and 20 points in the Elite. And then suddenly you came down to Leeds and you had this responsibility on you to be a point scoring guy. Did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy hockey more, or was there? How did it feel being a guy who was relied on in the last shift of the game to finish the game out or score the goal?
It's amazing. Like don't get me wrong. Like even when I first moved up to the elite league, and even when I was EPL when I was 17, I wasn't in those situations. You know what I mean? Most of those points were just 5-on-5 and never really played um them situations and since junior, kind of really. But yeah, I mean, it did get a bit stagnant looking back at Glasgow. Do you know what I mean? As much as I love my time there, like I think it's been the best thing I could have done was move down here. And I'm glad I didn't retire because I found the love for the game again. Like you have said, like, and it comes from that. Like I've been put in those positions. Uh, Obviously, Ryan's put quite a lot of trust in me, and I feel like I've hopefully repay that. And
You definitely have, mate.
yeah, and yeah, I mean, like it is like everyone wants to play in those positions, right? And it took me a few weeks to get used to because the league is a lot different to the elite league.
Yeah.
It took me a few weeks and kind of remember how I used to play when I was 16, 17, and not just. I always joke that I just chased Dysons for a living sometimes in the elite league and things like that. But yeah, I mean, obviously playing power play, Pelico, and playing with around guys that we were lucky enough to have and to have in Leeds
Mhm.
helps. You know, what I mean, it's nice and easy, and I'm glad that like my kids can see me scoring goals and not just be. No, I was appreciated in Glasgow, obviously, but it's nice to be appreciated more for my ability, not just for being there
Yeah.
since day one. You
Mhm.
know what I mean? Like, so it's good. It's good for them to see me getting a few points and my name being shouted out a few times
Yeah.
and stuff like that.
That's
So
cool, man.
yeah, it's good.
Um, be honest, what was your expectations coming down from the elite to the National League? Did you have a clue what it was going to be like, or had you done some research before? You've been told from Zajac?
Yeah, well, obviously Sammy, but I'm still reasonably quite close with everybody in Sheffield because obviously
Yeah,
that group of guys were still there that I
cool
that
group.
I
Yeah.
played with. Obviously my brother's still in the league,
Oh, yeah, that's another factor. Yeah.
and he was kind of telling me and he had a few preseason games and played for the Steelers a little bit, and so he kind of knew the difference of it. Um, but yeah, mainly Sammy was a big thing and telling me how because I mean everything in the elite league is just so regimented and
Systematic, isn't it?
system, yeah, and trying to get used to not just chipping it in and actually carrying it. You know what I mean? So little things like that. It sounds so silly, but when you just programmed one way,
Yeah.
speaking to Barry McKenzie, that he's been in the elite league longer than me, and then obviously last year he's come down. It's just totally different kind of mindset. You know what I mean? Like it's trying to have confidence in your own ability again. I think
Yeah.
that's a
And
big
he's done
thing.
all right with Bristol at the moment so far,
He's doing
coaching
well.
them.
Yeah, they've had a few good weeks, haven't they? I think I'm pleased for him. He's doing well.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Go on, Charlie.
Yeah, it's been good fun, and you obviously went through a stage of, I guess you could say, slightly retooling. And I think what I found really cool about Leeds is in that first year you had a lot of the young players who were really picked it up in this year and
Yeah,
last year. So Ollie Endicott's really developed his game. Bailey Perry's really developed his game. Lewis Baldwin's playing top line minutes. Obviously, Carter Hamill went to another team, but Tate Shudra's in the league as well. And so many of them young players, oh, Finn Braden's a big one as well, kind of from that first year who maybe chipped in with 10 points and now chipping in with 30, 40 points. So have you kind of played a role in that as well or tried to?
I don't know. They might say different, but I'd like to think so. I mean, it just little bits here and there. I mean, like all those boys are talented and very talented players. Obviously, in their own different ways. Finn, as you've mentioned, is a very skilled, very skilled player, very smart. Um, Obviously, still very raw, very young.
Yeah.
Um, but he's got massive potential. Ollie, um, what can I
We
say
love
about
Ollie.
Ollie?
We love Ollie to bits.
I like it. He's my daughter's favorite player, unfortunately. So I hear that name too much in my house sometimes. But listen, he's been having a few games with Nottingham this year, and he had
Yeah.
Coventry last year, and he's doing them the world of good. Yeah, like you say, they came in 10-point players. I think instead, they got what did they get 30, 40 last year. It's amazing to see him developing into those, and they're playing a few more situations. They're both playing power
Yeah.
play. Finn's on our my power play unit, and he's you know what I mean. He's fitting in absolutely fine. I think he scored first 5 goals for us this year or something. He was
Yeah.
on fire, but yeah, it's good. It's good to see, and they all bring their all different attributes
Yeah.
to the team, which is amazing. So.
What's it like playing against your brother then? Because we've known Lee for a long time, and we'd probably call him as an opposition fan probably a bit of a rat. But
He
he's
is a
someone that
rat.
you'd love to have on your team. Is he chirping, pushing you when you're playing against Sheffield and Hull this season?
Well, of course, I think I get it worse than anybody else. You know what I mean? Like I've had it since I was 2 years old. So I know, I know it's good. I know it's
In
good.
the younger
And we always
brother.
laugh and giggle about it, but yeah, I mean, it doesn't go easy on me if that's what you're trying to say. I think he just finds it funny, and people always say, "I can't believe how different you guys are on the ice," sort of thing. And ironically, I think off the ice he's probably more shy than I am.
Really?
Yeah, which is quite funny because well, I won't comment on what he's like on the ice because I think everybody knows what he's like.
We all
But
know.
he loves it, and but I also think he's very underrated as well.
Yeah,
I think
I agree.
um, I think every team on this league would have him on their team. Not only for what he brings that way, maybe in my opinion, maybe a little bit too far one way or the other, but as a D man that you want to block shots to make that first pass, which contributes with a few points, he would get in my team every day of the week.
Have you
Yeah.
played with him?
I played with
Did
him
you?
once, 1 year in for the Simmons that when I was just before I moved
Oh,
up to
okay, yeah,
Glasgow. It's the only time, and I think I played with him in the under-19s. So it was a 3 year age gap, so I was the youngest and he
yeah,
was the highest. But yeah, never really. And I don't really play against him till I moved down to Leeds, obviously.
yeah, yeah,
So it's quite for my parents. It's quite hard when we play each other because they don't really want either team to lose. Do you know what I mean? It's quite an awkward situation for them, I think. But I mean, yeah, it's good. It's just hockey at the end of the day.
yeah.
Do you
Got
put in
John.
that bit of extra step when you play against, well, Hull now, Sheffield last year?
um, I don't think I've got an extra step in me these days. You know? No, I don't. Listen, I don't. I don't do that. I don't think I would do that. I don't think I do that. I've only really got one gear. Do you know what I mean? I'm either playing or I'm not. I don't really. To be honest, I'm so in the game. I don't really look around and see who I'm up against anyway. So it could be league, could be anybody. Do you know what I mean? It doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't affect me.
The
Yeah.
22-23 season, then your first season coming in. You mentioned you come Ryan was building a team maybe for the next couple years to go in and win stuff. But that season, you win the league, you win the playoffs. How was that for you? Getting your hands on some silverware with a really good team actually, probably the closest bonded team we've probably seen in the national.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's been a while since I'd won something. I haven't won anything since juniors. I don't think so. It was nice. It was nice to do it in the way we did it. There was no panic towards the end of the season, and we could kind of reset and rebuild for playoffs. And we had that. I think we had one bad game all year that year, and it was the cup final, first leg against Peterborough, and they
Yeah,
took full advantage, and won by quite a few there. And so that was. I can't say it was disappointing because you win 2 out of 3 trophies, but um, the way it was going that year, I think we once the initial month had gone and we realised that where we were and what we could actually do,
yeah,
I think we would have liked three, but obviously take the two. And same again last year. I mean, Peterborough again. I think we seemed to beat us in those finals, don't
yeah.
we? But it is what it is. And if you had said before I came down that we'd win 3 trophies in 2 years, I think I would have snapped your hand off at that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely. This season as well, as you said, the level's gone up, and I think that's actually from a National League point of view. I think it's even better because it gives other teams a chance to try and beat you guys.
Well, I wouldn't even say also. I mean, everyone's beating everybody, and I
Exactly.
know from. I mean, I'm not a fan by any means, but if I were a fan, I think I'd rather my team get beat a few times and see a good product every week, a
Yeah,
close game every week, and with potential of my team losing more,
yeah,
than seeing I don't know blowouts every now and again. I think
Yeah, I agree.
you know what I mean. And ironically, this year's probably going to take less points to win the league than
yeah,
previous years because everybody is beating everybody. Do you know what I mean? So, but it's good product and it's compared, especially I don't know since COVID. I remember Ryan saying that a couple of those games were a bit one-sided when it was split between the two
Oh,
north and
the
south or
National League
whatever.
one
Yeah,
days were
It was not
horrible.
the same
yeah.
as the
So
National
I
League.
think I think people need to take a look and pat themselves on the back because is where we are, where this league is now to where it was.
Yeah, go on, Chaz.
100%. Yeah. We've seen kind of the EPA EPIHL, where they had the 5 imports, to the
Hmm.
National One, where it obviously split, and obviously now we got the National League, and it feels like each year um, it keeps taking that step up, and
Hmm.
it's the Brits often. Of course, we talk about the imports, but the Brits we've had in the last couple of years a lot of players step down from the elite league,
Hmm.
and it makes our league better, but it
Yeah.
also helps the youngsters in the league, and you really notice that. And yeah, it's become made the league very interesting having the elite league boys step down for sure.
It does. I mean, raising the import numbers in both leagues is it's good and bad, obviously, because people lose jobs,
Yeah.
um, come down, which forces people down of this league down to one below, which is unfortunate. But also having those imports means it raises the standards slightly.
Yeah.
Um, Obviously, finding that balance or whatever it is a topic for another day. Personally, I don't think it should be 15. I'm allowed to give what British
Yeah.
work, but that's
I agree. I
again,
agree.
it's another thing. But again, like you say, yeah, I'm sure you guys have spoken about any podcast, but having import goalies in this league is big,
Mm-hmm.
is really big for this league. I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, but it raises standards of even like Gozzy and Jordan
Yeah.
from MK, or even yeah, you know what I mean? Like it's they want to beat those, they want to, you know what I mean? It does spur
The
you on.
Brit goalies this year, I think, have stepped up even more
Yeah,
as
it
well.
does, and unfortunately, it means. And I do think that there is enough British goalies to be here in
I
this
do
league
agree.
to
Yeah.
fill this starts. But even if it's just for 1 or 2 seasons, and then now a new bar's been set, and
Yeah.
then you know what I mean. Ironically it works both ways, but I mean imports do set standards as much as we want to say, because I'm all for the British game and stuff like that. But they do they do because I mean you see a Canadian coming in doing the right thing or whatever. If I'm an Ollie or a Finn,
Yeah.
and I see Matt Bissonnette doing what he does, or Matt Barron, all for the team, blah blah blah,
Yeah. Learn
blocking
from that.
shots. You know, exactly. I mean, not everybody can do like I can't do what Kieran can do. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm pretty sure everybody knows that. Like, you know what I mean? I can't do what Aaron Nell or you know I can't do it. So I
Yeah.
you find your own way of doing things, and
But you think
hopefully,
you bring something? Me and Charlie were talking earlier before we had you on. I think we think you'll really get in front of the net. You've got that IQ in front of the net, and it's not always the flashy goals which Kieran or Matt can score, but those still are still really important goals. I think someone like Ollie or Finn and stuff can learn from you for those type of goals and being aware around the net as well.
yeah. I mean, it's a little bit easier when you've got somewhere to just keep to pass you to tap it in now and again.
Yeah, you're
But
very, very humble, but it's like we do find like we're always like, oh, flipping Haywood's on the draw. He's gonna probably win the face-off bat. And it's yeah, each player has their different element. Whereas like Venus is coming in, he's one of the best playmakers in the league. He
Yeah,
can get a pass anywhere, and he's a Brit. Obviously Luke, we saw what Luke can do in the cup final. He can run a game sometimes.
yeah,
Um, so it adds so many different elements. But I do agree with you actually on the import point. I think they do set a standard which players want to match. When Grant Cooper was in Leeds, I can imagine Kieran was thinking, "I want to hit Grant Cooper's points.
yeah.
I want to get that standard."
Yeah, well, don't forget Kieran was a top point scorer year before, so he gets a bit of a in a good way, like oh, like that's my title.
yeah,
But you know what I
yeah,
mean? Like
Yeah,
yeah, which is great, and it was healthy competition.
yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like not like it wasn't any like animosity towards each
oh
other,
yeah.
and they helped each other out loads. I think they played with each other for a little bit as well, so that was good. But I think going back, I think the biggest difference with people dropping down and the standard of the league going up is everybody's kind of skating ability. I
Yeah.
think that's the big difference. That's the old generation going out thing, and everyone these days is just so fast, and that really helps. You know, like see, like you use Venus as an example. Even in the elite league, is such a strong skater, and
Yeah.
that gives him that extra second to make those plays. Like you see in Jordan County now, he's getting more points.
He got a hat
Um,
trick this weekend.
yeah, exactly. Like it's very, very good skater, Mac. You know what I mean? Very, very good skater. Gives him an extra couple of seconds. You know what I mean? And it's a big difference. You know, and that's the league's faster. I think
It's
the
just
leagues are
about finding
better.
the balance, isn't it?
it is, and sometimes it's kind of getting your brain going at the same time as your speed. And, I've got the opposite. I think my brain goes faster than my feet sometimes, but
You're very harsh on yourself. Um, Obviously, this season then, it's got much more competitive. I assume you guys, obviously last year, losing on the penalties, it's just a luck of the draw with the shootout. But you guys did come on the wrong end of it. But I can imagine that's motivated everyone in that locker room to go and take back that playoffs as well, and just yeah, just push on because I think the mentality of your players. Earlier you said it, even though they're quite young, they've got a really strong mentality.
Yeah, I do. I think our biggest strength is our adaptability, though. I think that is
Yeah.
what is our biggest strength. Um, and I think obviously the guys need credit for that, but I also think Rag needs credit for that. I
Oh
think
yeah.
we do go into, say, for example, the last couple of years we've gone into Swindon and we've got beat. The first game we've been down there, and then the second two times we've gone down there, we've played a small Swindon rink kind of games. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And we kind of not fight fire with fire, but we kind of adapt really well to
Yeah.
the rink, to the conditions. And I think obviously Peterborough beat us in Coventry, but I think we beat them three times away last year, which is very,
Yeah.
very hard to do. Do you know what I mean? Yeah, I think that is our biggest strength is being adaptable, and those young players are a big part of that, especially that our third line. And they just bring so much energy, and they're obviously getting more and more confident on the puck and making a lot more plays, and and it's nice to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they started off the year really hot in this. Braden and Ollie, they were, I think they were your best scoring line for the first 2 3 weekends.
Yeah, well, they're just playing the right way. Do you know what I mean? They're
Yeah.
just really hard working, and they were supporting each other. I think that's the main thing. Finn started really well. Innes has been a real find for us. I think he's strong, powerful, and skates well for a big guy. Do you know what I mean? Like, obviously, there's certain things that they need to work on. Everyone does, myself included. You know, like, and nobody's perfect. Won't be in this league if we were perfect. You know what I mean? So, but there's only really an upside for them guys, and hopefully we can maybe mold them into good good players, great players for a long time.
We've probably got a lot of Leeds fans watching. How has it been, obviously, coming in that first season? Um, you've probably got a chant as well, and they've got a chant for everyone. But how's it been playing in front of those Leeds fans? Because the fan base just, it's just the growth of the fan base since Leeds were first formed is just crazy.
I remember when Sammy was the coach the first year, and I remember seeing a picture of them, and they're all along the blue line. I think it's in Sheffield, and they've all got like mismatched helmets and gloves. And I remember texting him after that game, like, what is going on down there, sort of thing. Um, but yeah, obviously he was telling me about the crowds, and I think when they first started, they were only getting a few hundred or whatever, and
Yeah,
now they're
that was when they were the
constantly.
Chiefs, wasn't it?
Yeah, I
Because
think they
they
only
had to
had
play
so much.
so
Yeah,
many
they
games
played
on the
with them.
road.
Uh-huh. And then they only had so much seating in the
Yeah,
arena when they first opened or something. Obviously seeing it grow and grow. Obviously, I think the success does help
yeah,
attract people in, and Leeds is a very sporting city. I
yeah,
think it goes under the radar for how passionate. Obviously, living in Glasgow, I don't see many football. Like, I see two sets of football shirts out up here, and obviously when I go down to Leeds, I just see the one everywhere. Do you know what I
yeah,
mean? So it's quite nice, refreshing, and yeah. I mean, Sammy told me how loud it gets, and I didn't. I think the building's obviously very echoey and,
it just
and
echoes
stuff,
around. Yeah,
it is, especially when we get on a bit of a roll, and I think that's
yeah,
why we have been known to get 2 or 3 quite quick,
yeah,
and I think that definitely does help get a bit of momentum for us, and it's a tough ring to play, and it's not the biggest. It's not.
yeah.
Yeah, the ice is never not always great, you know what I mean, which is good for me, but. Yeah, I mean, listen, crowd's amazing, and they've took to my kids walk around like they own the place. Do you know what I mean? So it's fantastic. I'm absolutely over the moon that we made the move.
Obviously, you've You've got Brownie. Everyone loves Brownie, the face of the league. But I think the main guy, without him, I don't know if you have all the success, and that is Sam Gospel. He's been there since the start. He just keeps hitting that level and then improving on that level as well.
Yeah.
What's it like playing in front of him? And
Mhm.
I saw the save he made against Sheffield, where it
Mhm.
was pretty much an empty net, and he somehow got a glove to it. What's it like playing in front of him? Because yeah, he's a joke.
Yeah, oh well, listen, that everybody. I don't want to talk people up too much because I'll get big headed and stuff. But listen, he's obviously he's the best. In my opinion, he's the best goalie in the league. He's
Yeah.
only small in stature, but he's I think he just moves side to side so well. Like you say, that one game, that game we played Sheffield last week, was whatever it was, 2 weeks ago, and it wasn't a 7-0 game
It was
without Gozzy.
35 shots each, wasn't it?
Yeah, it wasn't that without Gozzy. You know what I mean? It was just he was just. I think he had a bit of a, by his own recollection, I think he had a bit of a slow start, but I also think that's because he set his standards so high. So
Yeah, the previous season.
yeah, exactly. For an average goaltender, it's a great start, but
Yeah.
you just
I
got to
think
get
that's we said
expected.
that on the podcast, and now
Uh,
he's last week, and now he's
I
he's
said,
top of
oh,
the save percentage again.
he
yeah,
said he'll lock in soon. He'll be back.
yeah. I think he got some new pads, I think, so that's probably a goal is a bit
Ah,
weird
yeah.
like that, really, that sort of stuff. But again, like I think he went through a bit of a big change in his life. He's just had his first child,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
people underestimate how fuzzy that actually makes you. You don't sleep very well, and you have to find hockey's not your most important thing anymore. Do you know
Of
what I
course,
mean? Like,
yeah.
yeah, so it's really trying to find your enjoyment and trying to find your reason for leaving your kids and certain things like that. And, it's a big thing in your life, and people underestimate how big that actually is. And I think he's kind of found it now. Maybe the new pants have done it for him. I don't know, but listen, it's also very easy to if you have a good goal, you're not as good in front of him because you
Yeah.
kind of and leave him out to dry, and then it kind of snowballs. But I think Sam's also fortunate we've got a good defensive team defense in front of him. But
Yeah.
obviously, when we need him, that's his thing, right? I think that's it. And he's very much like Bounty in this way. Is when you need that save, when you're 2-1 up and they
He'll
get
give
two
you
on
it.
one, yeah, and he's got like a and then more often than that we go down the upper end and would score, and
It
then
just
that's
gives
that's
you it gives you
mhm.
guys a bit of momentum from your own goalie as well.
It is it's massive. Like there's nothing more deflating than playing well and having a goalie and like let a little trickler in or whatever, and you're the
Yeah.
better team, and it's nothing. So just to have
Mhm.
that confidence in somebody back there, and it's just
Yeah.
it's nice. I even and shout out to Harrison as well. I think
Yeah.
when Sam had when Sam his son last year, I think we had
He
I think
beat us. Yeah.
I think we had a 3-3
You got a 6 point weekend, yeah.
Right,
Hull and Hull,
Swindon
yeah.
Hull
And
Hull.
I
Yeah.
think he let like 3 goals in the whole weekend
Yeah.
or something. He was phenomenal. But so that as a duo as well, and they're good for each other. They're a good sounding board for each other. They're both little weirdos, but yeah, I love them.
Yeah. And as a player, I can imagine when maybe you're 2-1 up and Gospel makes a worldy save, which maybe he
Mhm.
wasn't meant to, you kind of think, oh man, we can't allow that again.
Yeah, well,
We
yeah,
can't force that upon
yeah.
him.
He does wake you up as well sometimes. Yeah, I mean, the thing is a humble guy as well,
Yeah.
he's nothing really phases him too much, which is
No,
nice
that's the
having a
thing. He's
goalie.
calm.
Yeah,
Like
he's
if
really
he,
relaxed.
he he
Yeah,
always smile and have a joke throughout the game. He just enjoys it as well. I think he
yeah,
doesn't get in his own head.
uh-huh.
I
Yeah.
remember,
Sorry. I was just going to say
yeah,
when we
go
played
on.
this at the weekend, just there, Telford, we were in our zone and Luca was in the high slot, and I was kind of obviously watching him because he's got a good shot, and then one of our D men went to him, and I just left the guy on all alone for a tap in sort of thing. Anyway, it didn't have. He passed it across, we got it out. After it was close to the end of the period, and he comes off after the period. He's like, we just letting me have that guy. just like joking around with me. But if that had gone in, even if it had gone in, he would have been like, it's okay. So you know what I mean? Like it's not.
It's
But
getting
I've played
next.
with goalies before who you're a bit on edge because they're quite shouty, and
Yeah.
they can be, and that's his biggest trait, I think, the biggest like attribute I think is he's very calm. Even if he's playing poor, he, he's one to take on criticism as well. Say if he is having a bad game,
Yeah.
he would. If someone said to him like, "Oh, come on, let's go," he'd be like, "Yeah, you're right." You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And for a goalie in that position, it's a hard position. Obviously, you're either the hero or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just because you lost down
It's a whole
defense, don't
different
you?
world to the forwards and
Oh, I don't
now
know how to do it.
on ice
Don't
play.
know
Yeah.
how. But
Yeah, I remember when we had that car crash of a game, I'll probably say when
I
it
know
was
exactly
like
what game you're talking about. Yeah.
8-6 or
9-7.
9-7, and I remember I think the score was 8-6, and we were shouting, "Sammy, give us another goal!" And he looked at us and he went, "I probably will." And it's just the fact that he's letting six, and there's a lot of goalies there, and it's not a bad thing if goalies they'll be so angry with themselves. But Gospel's there, and he's like, "I know I'm having a bad game, but I don't know why."
It's,
And he just
it,
so
that
relaxed.
I think you kind of have to be in them because that game was crazy,
I've
wasn't it?
never
I think
seen a game like that. I don't think.
it's two
I
two
stopped
after. I think
celebrating the goals. I
I
thought, "Oh,
know.
we're back in it." Oh, they've scored again.
Yeah, I think it's like 2-2 after 3 minutes or something. Or
Yeah.
something stupid like
Brownie
that.
scored a Michigan in that
Is that
game.
the game he scored that? Yeah. Yeah, I acted like it's no big deal as well. He does it every week as well. I
Before
don't.
you get,
I actually don't think I could pick the puck up on my stick
you
like
know,
that.
think
No.
because
I don't. I don't
Kieran
try it though.
humbly said, "Oh no, it's not that hard to do. A lot of players could do it."
When you can do it, it's easy though, isn't it? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've never really tried it to be fair. I don't think that thought would even cross my mind, even if it is on its side and it's the easiest thing
Yeah.
to do. I'd probably
You
try
don't strike me as the player to whack out a Michigan behind the net.
And then Selly.
it. Yeah, can't even spell Michigan. Never mind do it.
Before you get into your final question, Charlie, obviously you've been assistant, you've been captain as well, and have you got plans to into coaching and stay in hockey in the future, or have you just seeing how it goes, really?
No, I don't think I'll be. I don't think I'll be in hockey in the future. I've always had this that I can't really watch hockey. I don't like watching it.
Really?
Yeah, I can watch. Obviously, my brother's playing. I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Fine. But I just get so because I'm not playing sort of thing. I get
Yeah.
quite annoyed because I can't do anything about it or whatever. I mean, yeah, I like especially since moving to Leeds, I do like speaking with the younger guys and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't think it's for me. I think that's me. Once I'm done, I'm kind of done. I've got a job, obviously got a job outside of hockey, so I think I'll just
Yeah.
jump 2 feet into it.
Touch wood, me saying this, by the way, I'm touching wood right in front of me. Me and Charlie noticed before we come on, you pretty much play most games every single season. You're very consistent. Is there anything behind that, or is it just
You
Or
can't say
special
that.
diet, special drink, Matt Haywood does.
Tea, I drink a lot of tea.
There we go. That's what it is.
Tea biscuits,
Tea and
yeah.
you play every game of the season.
Well,
54 the last couple
yeah.
seasons, every single game?
Well, I say this to all the lads that you can't pull a muscle if you don't have muscles. So
Fair enough. Good, Charlie.
Oh man, you've got a very underrated sense of humor. I say. You have them like underrated, under the rug jokes.
dad jokes, I like dad jokes.
Oh man, but yeah, it's been a pleasure having you on the podcast. You've had a great career so far in the National League and in the Elite League and stuff. And yeah, thank you very much for coming on. But we always ask one question to finish off the podcast. And you spoke very highly of them. But what is your message to the Leeds Knights fans?
Oh, yeah. Well, yeah, I've touched on it. Obviously, they're unbelievable. And I think they're very grounded as well as a fan base. I think that's good. If we do have an off night, I think they are quite forgiving of us, and they realise that. So I would say, obviously, I'm going to say keep coming and watching us and supporting us, obviously, but that's kind of a given with those guys
Yeah.
because they're so good. I'll probably just say kind of enjoy it.
Yeah.
Just we're in another battle here, trying to get a third one. It's not going to be as smooth sailing as the first one, and but yeah, it's going to be ups and downs. But let's enjoy it all together because you never know how long it's going to last. You know what I mean? We're going to try as hard as we can to win another one, but might not be the case this year. Do you know what I mean?
Mhm.
So let's just enjoy it together because we don't know how long we've got left.
I think it's more exciting as well when it's a lot closer. It gets them a bit like on edge
Hmm.
come the end of the season if you haven't won it with 3, 4 games to go.
I don't think that's. I don't think it's going to be one of those leagues that you win by 10 points together.
From a National League point of view, hopefully, because it's really tight so far. I think from first to seventh, it's separated by about 4 points if the teams win the games in hand. So it's. What do you think it has been this season? Um, why you think it's so close? Do you think it's the import level's gone up? Because I think they definitely have as well, and the Brits.
Yeah, I mean, was it 3 imports last year? Yeah, it was three
It
imports
was
Very
last year.
three,
important. We've
yeah,
just had goalies come in, which I think the goalies have made Bees, Bristol, and I don't know, yeah, Peterborough a little bit better. I think they've added that, I don't know, that edge to their final period of a game.
I also think this year a lot of coaches have gone more balanced. Whereas, see, obviously with us having the first year, I think guys, people tried maybe copying us going all forward heavy.
yeah, yeah,
I know you guys had three forwards last year, but you know, quite a few. I think there's only us and Hull that had important team. And no, no,
Bristol as well.
Bristol, well, yeah. Um, but then now,
Yeah,
now it's a lot more balanced side. I mean,
most teams have got a goalie or a D man, don't they?
yeah, exactly. So they're a lot. I don't know. You're not having to score 4-5 to win a game these
yeah,
days. Whereas
You can have a
yeah.
D man who can suck up 30 minutes as well, and that's a big thing. Like
really,
an
really,
import D man who
yeah,
can. We've noticed that with Wales this year. He's just next level.
yeah. I mean, and you don't need to be flashy. Like we look, we've got Noah. You know what I mean? I'm not saying he's not flashy. He's very skillful, but you mean the best thing a D man can be is unnoticeable, in my opinion.
Just
Yeah,
shutting it down. Yeah,
as nice as that is to say, as nasty whatever I'm trying to say is, if you don't notice a demon's out there,
that
it's probably
no, that's
because he's
it.
shutting down the top guys. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And obviously chipping in with points, goals, big goals here and there. Molly's really obviously. I think he's. I know he got a lot of plaudits last year, but I still think he's one of the most underrated
Yeah.
all
Did he
round
score at the
demons.
weekend?
Yeah, he scored. Yeah,
Yeah. And
Mhm.
those are close games as well. Right.
yeah,
Matt, thanks for hopping on.
yeah.
We really appreciate that. I'm sure the Leeds fans and fans around the league love that one. So we'll see you on Sunday.
Yeah,
I think
they
it's gonna be
do.
another good game.
That'll be up
Yeah.
there.
Hopefully it's not another 9-8.
Oh,
Yeah, hopefully not.
Well,
See you,
maybe,
mate.
maybe. We'll see. Thanks for having me.
Hello, welcome back. Thank you very much, Matt, for hopping on again. We hope you enjoyed that one. Let's get into the weekend then, and we start with the Friday, the game which we went to, and we were expecting a very, very good game, Dan. We were expecting goals. We were expecting a very loud atmosphere, and before we even get into the game, we're clapping. We're clapping the Romford organisation. Paul Davies as well. Well done for getting the first ever sold out game at the Romford Raiders. And Dan, boy, it was loud, wasn't it?
No, it was unbelievable. I think me and Charlie, when we came around the corner and we saw the queue was literally
oh,
like held round on itself about 3 times, we were like, "Oh my days!" We've like never seen anything like that before in Romford. And usually you just see the one line and it's just sort of everyone just waiting around. But the vibe even outside the rink was just so good. And you go into the rink and you go in and they're warming up and literally all the seats are pretty much full in warm up.
Oh.
And it's like Romford is scary enough as it is with all those fans, and you go in there and it's literally sold out. I can't even imagine what it'd be like to be a player or an away fan in that rink that night. But yeah, it's just like you said, massive credit to the team in itself and the way that they sort of turned it around from a very uncertain off season, and now they're coming in and getting these sellouts, and I mean many more to come for them hopefully because it's a growing sport, and as long as they can keep it growing in Romford, I think everyone will be happy. And what a game for anyone to go to if it was their first one as well.
And from what I know, it was a lot of volunteers again, putting the word out there, getting the going into schools, getting new families, new children coming to the game. So massive credit to Romford, and boy, the game did not disappoint, Charlie. We come in, we saw loads of Romford fans. That's another thing. All the Romford fans who met us were so friendly. They could have a laugh and a joke with us. and they welcomed us into the stand as well, which is the first experience for me and Charlie. Milton Keynes then took a 2-0 lead, and we thought, all right, we've just jinxed the whole Romford organisation, and MK took a 2-0 lead. But Romford got that goal, and just like they always do, Charlie, they just get the momentum and back in the game.
Yeah, they just seem to score out of nothing sometimes. They're a very good team at just scoring 5-on-5 in their own rink. They score a lot of 5-on-5 goals. Yeah, they found a way. MK started off the game really well. Credit to them. They really quietened the home crowd, and they did a good away start to a performance. But yeah, Romford got back in it, and it seems like as each period goes by, Romford get better. They get a lot better.
Yeah, I think, well, MK actually did to Romford what Romford do to a lot of teams. They scored two quick goals inside 15 seconds between them, Dan. And I think Ethan James will probably want the second one back. But from then on, I thought both goalies were very locked in. And the ones which stand out for me, Alif, I'll throw his name out there. He has come on leaps and bounds. He's obviously got that opportunity on the top six role next to Sean Miller and Andrew Schufelt, which is not a bad little line to play on. And he got that all important goal in that first period for Romford to kind of get the fans all back in it again, raise the tempo. And yeah, it was a snipe as well, wasn't it? That slap shot.
Yeah, 100%. When they got to 2-0, we all said, and the Raiders fans that we spoke to as well, they all said that next goal is so important. I think
Yeah.
if MK get that third goal, I think they can pretty much see the game out with that.
Yeah.
But no, Romford got that goal. Alif got that big goal.
Nice.
Perfect. Yeah, it was a nice goal. A Romford boy as well. Got the crowd going, one of our own, and all that.
Yeah.
Literally the perfect player to get that goal, and you could just feel it again. Like the rink just livened up a bit more. It's when they went to 2-0, it went a bit quiet, and then they got that one goal back. And Romford, you know what Romford are like. They get the one goal, and then they're going to get another one. So yeah, the fans just really got up for it with that goal, and yeah, it was just a really big goal at that time of the game.
I know we're talking about this game a lot, but it was probably the game of the weekend. The second period comes in, and just like they always have, every single game this season at home, Charlie, um, Yokoyama gets a great feed from TJ, your boy, and sticks it past Headley at 23:06. 58 seconds later, Schufelt then scores again, and suddenly it's just switched, and Romford are in front 3-2. And it's just happened to MK. It's just like it has every single team.
Yeah, they score in bunches. And yeah, it's just momentum in that rink, and also like one thing I find with Romford is whenever they score, they forecheck even harder. And they're such a good forechecking team that when you concede, you try to like calm it down. Whereas Romford are like you're not having any time on the puck, so you've got to make clever plays. Otherwise, we're going to win that puck back and get it on your goalie and be on top. And they did that really well there.
And it was a really good game. Um, Spatterford did get the 5 minute penalty at the end of the period. I had a few people ask what I thought of it. It was a bad hit, but I don't. It
Good
didn't
two
get
minutes.
given a ban, and I think it was a case of quite a big guy pushing a smaller guy, so it looked a bit worse than it actually was. But he got given a 5 minute. They didn't actually score on that power play, Dan, and they had a 5-on-3 for a whole 2 minutes. They didn't score on that either. But the 5-on-5, they then got the goals and then took the lead 5-4. And again, it was TJ Charlie who got the goal, and you were buzzing.
Oh,
And then
baby, I sellied that one.
and then from there on, I thought Romford Dan just did a good. The crowd really got that last 10 minutes, where Romford took the lead 5-4, and then that timeout. Oh my goodness! We know in the timeouts, if you've not been to Romford, the opposition. Right, so they've got the opposition bench, and then you've got the little glass behind the opposition. I'm not joking. About 20 fans with vuvuzelas stuck it over the top of the opposition bench and just blow their arts out. And you cannot hear. They cannot hear. I don't know what MK tried to chalk up or to try and plan for their face off. But yeah, it's just that's what we associate with Romford, isn't it, Dan? It's just crazy.
Yeah, it's good fun because I remember I was at the whole game and they did the same thing, and I was like, I was saying to you guys, I was like, you wait, they go call a timeout, and then you just watch, and you see the timeout's called, they do the little T, and then all of a sudden, like 4 or 5 fans just come running across from the other end of the ice.
They're like all in
And
order, aren't they?
yeah,
Like,
and they're just like kicking the glass. They're like animals on that glass, and
yeah,
it's like. And it's just you have that little joke you saw. I think we saw Cowney and Gulliver just looking at each other when they're skating away, and we're like, "Yeah, they didn't know what they didn't know what they
yeah,
said."
yeah,
We're
it was
like,
Matt
"Right."
Stewart and County, and Dan looked
Oh.
at me and went, Matt Stewart definitely looked at County and went, "Do you have a clue what Tim Wallace said?"
But I mean, in that last minute, like the last period as well, I think we've forgotten, but the Headley save.
Oh
Oh
my
Oh
my
yeah,
days.
one of
God!
the so there was
It's the
two
season for me, I thought.
unbelievable saves. The first one from Ethan James, where he just we interviewed him last week, and we talked about how he's able to come from one post to another so quickly. He robbed Wallace, and then in the second period, it was an even better save. Headley just sprawled across and got the blocker to it, not even the catcher, the blocker. And I think that is probably the save of the season so far. I think for me, obviously we saw a really good one in Solway as well. But yeah, Romford just closed it out. It got a bit nervy at the end. MK did get one back to make it 6-5 with 20 seconds to go, but the Romford crowd with the seventh man, I think, on that night, and that was the from a owner's point of view, that's probably the perfect game for new fans to come and see a 6-5 game. So hopefully, a lot of those come back next weekend to support them in their next home game. So yeah, just an unbelievable evening. We thank everyone at Romford. We thank Paul as well for helping us with the tickets. So yeah, we'll definitely be going back there if they've got a game when Swindon aren't playing again. So yeah, that was definitely the game of the season for me. Let's get to the weekend then, and we're going to kind of do it a bit differently because there's so many double headers this weekend. I think there was three different double headers. Sorry, four double headers, and then you had the two odd games as well. So we'll start with the odd games. And the one on the Saturday was MK against Bees. Bees again quite short bench. Gabai didn't play in that game, and MK just got the job done. They won 6-1 on the night. County's really starting to get a feel in the National League. He got a hat trick. But what I think we need to talk about from this game, I think it's the big talking point was flipping it, Archie Salisbury, Charlie. You do not want to mess with him. He has one fight, another guy comes for him, just absolutely drops him as well.
Yeah, tough cookie, isn't he? He likes to fight. I think he's going for the who can get the most Pims title at the end of the season. I think he wants that one. Yeah, I think it just drops him every week. But then he plays his role, at MK. His role is sixth D, obviously, and he does a good job. He plays very physical, but he's the guy who just drops him all the time, and it means they don't have to get their top guys fighting. It means that Salisbury does it all, and he's a good fighter. He did beat up Will Birch quite good in that fight.
And again,
Yeah.
we've said it so many times. Fair play. He did come in third man in, so maybe a tiny little bit of respect lost there. But anyone who drops the gloves, fair play to him. And
I think
yeah,
he's getting a reputation though, Salisbury. I think he'll have to answer the bell when people
yeah.
ask him out. But something tells me I don't think Salisbury would be too bothered by that one.
No, he doesn't really look like he's scared
I
to
think he
drop
quite
it with
likes
anyone,
fighting,
does
doesn't
he,
he?
Dan?
No, yeah, oh yeah, I think he wants to be a boxer, really.
I think the one
Boxer on
thing we were
ice.
shocked about is that he didn't have. We saw all these fights with Salisbury, and we were like, Will Stead and Salisbury didn't even have round three.
Wow, I think they're saving that for when they're back in because I think they've all been in the Slough ring, so I think they're saving it now for to go in front of the Beast fans. I think because Salisbury's a favourite, I think he's given sort of the advantage to Will Stead so he can have a crowd behind him.
The other game was another cracker, the other odd game, which wasn't a double header, and that was the Bees again at home. Sorry, I had something in my throat. Against the Raiders. And oh boy, what emotions through that game. The Bees, I thought, put up a great fight. We know they've been struggling with their team a bit. They scored some big power play goals. Liam Morris and Will Stead picking. I'll tell you what, Will Stead is really hitting a lot of form this season. He's got 8 goals. 8 goals in 14 games. He's really establishing himself and taking that role for Bees on secondary scoring, you'd say, behind Balaz and Gabai. But yeah, Bees were 4-3 up. And then Andrew Schufelt, Charlie, 59-59 with less than a second to go. I think it was zero point 0.6 of a second to go. And he buries it. I haven't actually seen it. We're waiting for the highlights to come out. But that must have been a real killer for the Bees because it sounds like they put in a real big shift against a tough Romford team.
Yeah, it sounded like a war zone, a battle out there. The score kept kind of flipping, and there was like bunches. I think Romford took the lead, then Bees took the lead, and then Romford
Yeah.
equalised, and then Romford won it. But yeah, the Romford just seemed to love a third period this year. They're clutching up in third periods at the moment, and I think the youth of their team is showing. The depth of their team as well. The fact they have 3-4 lines every night to play around with, and as we've seen on MK, the one thing we didn't comment on Romford is the fact he rolls all the 4 lines, and he's not afraid to put his third line out against the opposition. He's a very brave coach, Leishram, from what I've seen so far. So, yeah, it just shows that they have that extra bit at the end of games, and they keep pushing. And yeah, their imports are very high up in the scoring charts. Sean Miller and Schufelt are living up to what we thought they'd be, and probably better, to be honest. They are real good imports. And the crazy thing is they've not got Leish. I know Yokohama's doing well, but Leishram was a 100-point import last year. And he's on the bench, but he's coaching very well from the bench. He's doing a really good job as coach. And yeah, a lot of credit to Leish as a coach, because I think he's built a new identity in this Romford team, and I think they're playing some very good hockey.
Yeah, he's almost kept the Romford kind of way, elements of that Romford way, and then brought in some of his new styles, and obviously that really helps with the imports he's brought in. Dan, it was the imports who got the job done on the Sunday night in terms of goal scoring. Andrew Schufelt getting 2, and then how cool was that penalty shot from Sean Miller? And Sean Miller, by the way, he is 3 points off Sobchak now. I think that gap was about 10 between him and Sobchak before this weekend. It's now just down to 3 points, and he's up there with one of the most impressive players I think I've seen this season. And he got a hat trick, the winning goal in overtime, getting that penalty shot, and he makes the game look so easy, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's a really special player for Romford. He plays the game his own way, and I think the way he plays just really suits Romford as well. I think the players he has around him and himself as well, I think they just work really well off each other. He's obviously a really good skater, and obviously when he's on a line with a player like Ailif, obviously the way they can wheel the puck around the boards and obviously cycle the puck really well. He can go into battles in the corner. Ailif can go into battles. Schufelt's really strong as well. I think the way Leish has put this team together is he's made it so all these players can help each other with the way they play. And I think it's not all about having the best players, it's just about having the best sort of style. And the Romford style is definitely a style that is working at the minute. And Leish is just going to keep rolling with it. And while these imports are hot, they're just going to keep making the most of it, and they're just going to keep rolling.
Yeah, they're a goal scoring team. Flipping it, they are. They've scored so many this season. The double headers then. We'll start with our one. We'll get it out the way. Obviously we'll talk a bit more as well, not just ice hockey, because I know we have our yearly Solway trip, because it's normally a double header weekend. And you and Dan actually went up straight after the Romford game. Where was it? The obscure place you went to?
Glossop.
Glossop. Went up to
Like just on the
Glossop.
edge of Manchester.
Yeah, so 4 hours after the Romford game, which finished at about 10:30. So you got there at about 2:45 in the
I
morning.
wasn't as nice to Dan this year. 2 car journeys I passed out.
Yeah.
So one thing to mention from this one, because it was quite funny. And I'm sure you like hearing some of like the personal sides of our thing. But I fell asleep. I'd been up since 7. I released my first YouTube video on Friday, so it was a big thing for me. And I was knackered, right? And I fell asleep in Dan's car. And for some reason, to Glossop, the last hour of the journey was like the most crazy country roads I've ever seen. Like genuinely, like tight bends, up and down hills. And I was half asleep, but every 5 minutes I opened my eyes and I just saw Dan going about 75 down these country roads. I'm sat there, and I'm sat there like this, and I'm just pooing myself. It's terrifying on these bindy roads. I'm like, I'm going to trust Dan, but in my heart, I'm thinking, I hope there's no cars coming around any of these corners. Yeah, Dan's a very good driver, and we made it to Glossop and had a Weatherspoons breakfast the next morning.
Also, because I know my parents are going to be listening, I wasn't speeding. Don't worry about that. I was not speeding, so I was in control of the car.
Dan's a good
I had
driver.
a very special passenger with me, so I didn't want to cause any harm. And we got to Glossop safe and sound, and yeah, it was just a really nice evening.
Yeah, it was relaxed driving.
And then I went up. I went up on the team coach the next morning, and you guys made your way up there after you've had your breakfast. So we got to Solway, and then the first game of the weekend was so it was a tough one, wasn't it? Because I actually thought we played a really good road game. Obviously Solway took the lead. I'm sure we're going to talk about him, Alderson, in a second, but he took the lead. We then got two through Chris Jones, and I thought they were really good work goals. The second line was the standout. I thought Aaron was really good as well. And then Solway, as they have in their rink, they're used to it. It's just momentum started building, and it took that one bit of quality, Charlie. Mason Alderson with just a bit of beauty, a bit of magic, to dangle past a player, cut inside, and he tied it up. And then everyone was thinking it's going to go overtime. 30 seconds to go. The puck bobbles in the zone, and John Dunbar just out of the air just gets a little bit on the puck, and it just trickles in. And it's for either team to lose in regulation would have been so like hard on them, I think, because both teams deserved a point, and unfortunately Swindon come out of the wrong side of it, Charlie, and then we were just like, oh no, hockey can be so cruel sometimes, can't
Yeah,
it?
it was a frustrating one. We played a decent road game, and I know we'll see in the now interview. You've probably all seen the now interview. It got put on all the things. Some people did clickbait a little bit, but
Yeah.
our top line wasn't great.
No, it wasn't great that night.
It was one of them nights where we couldn't quite find the back of the net in some important moments. I think we had 3 power plays and we missed them. But Solway, to their credit, and I know their fans wanted us to talk about them a little bit more. I thought they've really changed their kind of team morale this year. It feels like they got a different vibe about them. They've got very good D men who can skate well with the puck.
Well, it all starts with their goalie, actually.
Well, yeah, Jordan's good, but yeah, I know Dan will comment on their thing. Jordan's was great. Both my brothers were really good, and I think they've definitely upgraded the goaltender position. And Dan will talk about their D man because I know he will love to talk about that. But I just think in their forward core they have a bit more grit. On their third line, they got Coulter as the center who just does his job. You got little Caruth, and he's a little Scottish nitty gritty player trying to find his way into the National League.
Torren Anderson.
Then you got Torren Anderson, who is I call him the Blockley Nordstrom regen, probably. He is very, very good. He's about 6'4". He wears a cage, but he's not actually a cage boy. He's 19. But he's a very, very good, very skillful guy, good two-way game. He has an eye for an offense. But one thing which really impressed me of him is and Martin Grubb's a great coach for giving opportunity to players. He played the last shift of the game when they scored. Played the last 30 seconds to kill off the game with Dunbar and Gardenia. The coach has a lot of trust for this guy. The coach knows this guy. He's very good defensively. He's on their first PK unit with Gardenia. Like, this guy is...
he's 18.
Good, man.
He's 18.
18. I saw Solway told me he's 19. But yeah, he's very defensively mature for his age. And I think that's really impressive. And yeah, definitely one to watch for them. He really stood out to me this weekend, as well as Alderson, of course, because he lit it up this weekend. But yeah, Dan,
Alderson.
I knew you wanted to comment on the D-men.
Yes, before you get onto the team, I think Alderson was the standout for them. I think Jordan Marr's really good, but Alderson all weekend, you can see the difference from last season to this season. Obviously, he had his injuries, a few knocks. He wasn't fully 100% there because he had those knocks, but a fully fit, ready to go Alderson Oh my goodness. I know you and Dan love him. He's funny in the warm-ups. He just enjoys himself. He has a little dance. He does the little tricks. He's always singing to the
He's
songs.
got some good
Um
moves.
he's definitely you can see the difference this season. But the D men, Dan, go on quickly. What have you noticed this season?
Yeah, it's just the way the D-men can all carry the puck. You've got players like BT, Stenton, Arsenault, Young, all of them, they can carry the puck really, really well. And the thing that I noticed on the weekend the most is the way they do zone entry with the D. It's such a underrated thing that having your D men that can just carry the puck over the red line and over to the blue line. It just gives you sort of a different aspect of zone entry. You don't always have to dump and chase it every time, because you normally see a lot of D men get to the red line, dump it in, and go for a change. But these D men are different. They can skate it through. They can skate through the middle, skate up the boards. They can do so many different things with the puck, and I think that's such a big thing, especially in that Solway rink as well. Having a small neutral zone, it can sometimes be hard to get into the zone,
Yeah.
and because you can easily trap it up. But yeah, having the D men like that is going to be so effective for Solway, and obviously going to rinks like Slough, Romford potentially as well, like there were small ice pads. Yeah, it's such an underrated trait, and I really rate that from Solway.
Yeah, you can see the difference in level from last season to this season. We kind of did. You could see the quality we had compared to them last season, but this season they've taken that level up. And yeah, we'll talk about it quick because Aaron mentioned that our top guys didn't really perform on that Saturday, and they didn't. And you've just got to be brutally honest about it. But Sunday, Charlie, 5-3 in the end. Swindon won. They got the revenge, if you want to call it that. And it went in patches. It was similar to the night before, but Swindon just had that little bit of edge, and some of the bounces did go our way, and we were a lot more clinical. And Aaron was really good. Obviously, he got two really good goals, two different goals. You've got the snipe, which he had in the second period, and then you've got the really clever tip in. But Jake Britnell and Thomas Malazinski and Glenn Billen as well, they all stepped up that level which we know they can on that Sunday, didn't they?
Yeah, I thought we were the better team on the Sunday altogether. I thought we didn't deserve to draw the first period. I thought we deserved to be winning after the first period. We could
Yeah.
not hit the back of the net. I thought Solway were the better team in the second period. I thought they took over the game a little bit more, took hold of the play. And I thought in the third period we showed our class and we didn't do what we did the night before in the third period. We took over the game and yeah, it was a good game. Britnell got loads of points. The guy just seems to get points wherever he does. Malas showed his class. For me, Glenn Billing was one of the best players on the ice. He was absolutely class on that game. And Plu's really stepped up when
Yeah.
Wales was out. He threw his body around a lot more. I did see there was some controversy about the refs online. I actually thought the refs had a good game. You may think I say that because we won, but I thought the refs weren't too happy that the Solway players were swearing at them after a call where I personally didn't think it was a 2 minute from the Carl Carew thing.
No.
And they got a 2 minute penalty for it and we made them pay. And
Yeah.
I think that's fair. I don't think the refs were perfect over the weekend, but I didn't think they were too bad on that night. And yeah, I thought Swindon deserved the 2 points from the weekend. I think splitting it 50-50 was fair enough, to be honest. And I thought, yeah, so we're a much improved team, but we had to up our game on the Sunday. We couldn't leave with 0 points, and we didn't.
Yeah. With the rest, I think Saturday was a bit more cleaner. I don't think there was much penalties on the Saturday. Sunday was a lot more penalties. Yeah, maybe they're a bit. I think they're a bit inconsistent on the Sunday, but for both teams, I don't think it favoured either team, and they did get some misconduct penalties at the end because they did swear, I think. But it doesn't take away anything from the weekend. I think it was a brilliant weekend. Two very strong teams, much improved teams going at it this season, and thought both netminders are really good. The Mars always turn up when they're playing against each other to that next level, don't they, Dan? But yeah, we on the Sunday we went to a nice little pub. I've forgotten what it's called. Do you remember the name, lads? No, I
No,
can't remember.
we've been there twice, but we never
Yeah, we
saw the
went there
name. We just
last year,
remember
but
the door.
their baguettes are so good. Whether you're getting a baguette or panini, so we can't even shout out where it is because we've forgotten the name of it. But
Sounds
some
good.
pub there.
It's got
What?
a green door, I think.
Yeah. Oh, that'll help.
Yeah, so
There's
if you see a green door on the road, it'll be all right.
Just sounds good baguettes.
Yeah, it was good. It was good, but it was a good
Yeah,
weekend,
the
and I'm
one.
glad we come back with 2 points. And I think over the course of it, I think both teams probably deserved 3 points, but 2 points each. And it's a tough place to go to. What I'll say is the final thing I'll say on the Swindon side of it, the average amount of goals in the Solway games this season have been 10. 10 goals in a game, both teams combined. This weekend we kept it low, and I think that's a big difference we've seen this season. We've been able to shut games down and shut teams down a lot more. So I think that was a big positive from this weekend. Um,
Yeah,
is
and
that everything,
one
Cole?
final story.
Oh, there we go. Yeah.
I'll let Dan say it. I went into the service station without my shoes, and and I bought a bottle of water and walked out. And I think the guy who was serving Dan, he didn't know that me and Dan were linked. And you can
I
finish it
think
off.
I think in Solway, I don't think they've ever really seen a guy go into, into the services with no shoes on. And I went and paid for some petrol, and he like delayed it a bit, and he like looked out the window and looked at Charlie walking back to the car with no shoes, and he was like, "He's got no shoes on." I didn't know that, and yeah, I know he's pretty silly, isn't he? Like I didn't want to be linked with a guy like that. And it was just yeah, it's just really fun. It's always a fun weekend. Um, I've got another shout as well for Martin Grubb's dad.
Oh
Really
yeah.
Oh,
nice guy. Really nice that he came up and spoke to us at the I think it was for the whole of the last period on the Saturday. He loves hockey. He was talking to me and Charlie in the bar. He just watches and listens to every podcast, and he said he'd been around hockey for like 40 years. Because obviously his son loves it, and he's obviously on the bench for Solway, and he travels from Fife as well. That's a long old trek. Because yeah, he's just a really nice guy, and hopefully he's listening to this one.
Yeah,
yeah.
we met a lot of Solway fans out there, and they were
They're
all
good, the
welcoming,
Surrey
and
fans. Yeah.
they could have a joke as well. I think the Scots know the level of banter and being a bit too much of a dick. They know that fine level. And I think it was just really nice
Yeah.
weekend.
The thing I find with Solway fans as well is they've been watching the game for flipping ages.
Yeah,
Like most of them have been watching the game for like, I don't know, 10, 5, 15, 20, 30 years. They remind me a bit of Swindon's crowd where like
yeah,
a lot of people have watched for a long time now and they've got so many regulars and yeah, they just all seem to know so much about hockey and like a lot of them would have watched Carl Carruth's dad and now Carl Carruth's playing and stuff like that. So it's a cool little community they got over there. And another positive is the attendance was up from the last time we went to the doubleheader. On the Saturday, they had, I think, a good amount of fans. It was definitely busier than last year. Only annoying thing is they moved the away block.
yeah. To
I
the
prefer the
MOE.
away block in the way where the place where your team shoots twice. But you know,
But yeah, the last thing I'll say actually is good turnout from Swindon. I think we had even more than last year. So that was a really good turnout from the Swindon fans as well. And we suggest if you can afford it, if you got the time on the weekend, take that trip up to Solway. I know it was easy for us because we had a double header. But it is a really good little weekend over in Dumfries. The next double header was Hull versus Peterborough. Not too much to talk about on the Saturday, because the Hull Seahawks got their first shutout of the season, a 1-0 win against the Peterborough Phantoms. Johnny Cornell getting the game-winning goal, a shutout for Dima Zamostra, it's 27 save shutout, and also shout out to Leving as well. He saved 47 out of 48 as well. So it sounded like it was a battle of the defenses. Obviously, we can't comment too much because we didn't watch it, but sounds like both D were very good. And both goalies were on it as well. But the Sunday was a corker, wasn't it? It was the opposite of that game. The whole Seahawks taking a 3-0 lead. Cornell getting another two, and Chamberlain as well scoring. And you'd think that was all wrapped up. Hull would come away with that and get the 2 points, the 4 point weekend. But the Peterborough Phantoms, Dan, they did not. They did not give up. They got a couple power play goals. Obviously, it was Luke Ferraro who got the goal to get him back in it. I like that it was five different goal scorers as well, and it was an array of goals, and five unanswered to make the comeback and win 5-3. That just shows how tough it is to play in Peterborough. And I think that's their seventh home win in a row since their first weekend loss to Sheffield.
Yeah, 100%. They are really good at home, and I think we've always said with Hull, is they're a team that just tries to score more than they concede.
Yeah.
That's sort of the way they play, and I think we've always said is with Hull, if they start scoring goals, if you can sort of stop the bleeding a little bit, and just don't make that gap too big. Obviously, it went 3-0, and then they got it to 3-1. Just keeping that gap um, within distance, I think that's really big against Hull because you can, like we saw it. We went to Bristol, obviously back at the start of the season. We saw it got a bit out of hand because they just keep scoring, they don't stop. You just got to kind of stop that momentum of Hull, and I think Peterborough did that really well. And obviously, Slava's going to set up in a way that he can do that, and I think you just have to prioritise the defence in that situation, and the offence will just sort of make its way through.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think they did a really good job with that. Obviously, again, we didn't see the game, but just watching it from seeing the scorers and stuff like that, the way it worked out, I think you can sort of see what Slava did that game, and yeah, it really worked well in that home win.
Much tighter game. This one, 41 shots to 40, so very very tight. And fair play to Peterborough. They know that ice rink like the back of their hand. What I found interesting looking at the goal times, 35 minutes and 36 to get the two goals, and then 55, 56, and 59. So just a game of momentum again for Peterborough, getting that momentum, the Peterborough fans getting back into it. So and that was the game which got a bit of controversy for the commentators, but oh my goodness, if we were making a comeback like that, Charlie, I think we'd struggle to try and keep a level head.
Oh mate, especially against a team like Hull as well. Like
Yeah.
they're a good team, and Peterborough got a great home record this year. They're playing really well at home.
Right, the next double header is the Bristol Pitbulls and the Sheffield Steel Dogs. And the Saturday night. What I will say is some of these games, I think this weekend, all the games, bar the Bees and the MK one, it was between 1 and 2 goals difference. So very, very tight games this weekend. I think it just shows the level of the National League and how close all these games are. Both teams just going at it. But on the Saturday, the Bristol Pitbulls, Dan, they lost another shootout. That is 3 this season. But the fact that they're annoyed and frustrated that they're losing these shootouts just shows how, sorry, penalty shootouts just shows how far they've come because they've taken Sheffield, Peterborough, and MK all the way to penalty shots last season. That no offense to the Bristol team last season, but they weren't doing that, were they? They were getting a lot of goals scored on them. But this season, it's just a different mentality, isn't it? And a different team mentality.
Yeah, 100%. The room is totally different. You can see it on the ice. You can see when you watch them, they're a totally different team. You see these big players that you expect to step up, stepping up. You've got the depth guys stepping up. Ewan Hill, unreal. He's really
Hamill got
stepped
another
up.
couple assists
Yeah,
as well.
Hamill. He just suits Bristol. I've said that as well. He suits the play style that they have. He throws his body. He can add excitement to that team. He can get a bit of momentum going for your team. Nick Price, he's really stepped up. He's just slowly come in and second top goal scorer in the league. Just slowly made his way up there. Just all these big guys are really starting to come together now, and I think that Haywood Price line is really coming good. You've obviously got Napier as well. He's playing really well. He's making a lot of saves. He's keeping the scores tight for the team. And having all these factors come together is at one time this is just going to end up in wins, and it might take a bit of time for Bristol, but they're going in the right direction, 100%.
Yeah, Nick Price, 16 goals in 16 games, and we it's comfortable to say that he had a slow start in terms of point scoring and goal scoring, but then looking back, those games were against a whole team who are ready to go, a Leeds team who are ready to go, and now Charlie. He's establishing himself as one of the hottest players in the league, point scoring and goal scoring wise, and it's always handy to have an import who you know is going to get the puck in the back of the net, and that's what he's been doing.
Yeah, and they're doing it in good times. He scored a late goal against Swindon, and he scored one in the last minute to take it to overtime against Sheffield. And as much as they'll be disappointed they didn't win on the shootout, they took it and got a point in a game they were losing with a minute to go. And
Yeah.
so these are important for Bristol. They're They're digging deep when games are close, and they have got a goalie they can rely on. Napier's, I think in his last 6 games, he's only had one game where he's been below a 9 save percentage, which is really good. He's locked in now, and he's shown his class and his CV really. But yeah, they're playing well. Another player who's playing really well is Bailey Haywood. He's working well with Nick Price. Pretty much every Nick Price goal I've seen has got Haywood as the assist person, which makes sense because they're the two probably top forwards on that team. But yeah, they're doing well, Bristol. They're proving probably people like me who put them bottom of the league at the moment wrong. We'll see at the end of the year, but if they keep this momentum going, yeah, Barry's done a really good job to change the mentality of this dressing room, change the mentality of the team, and they definitely are a different team to last year, a better team than last year.
Yeah, but credit Sheffield as
Yeah,
well.
I was going
They
to say that.
lost. They lost to Bristol 5-3 in their own place, but this time they did get the job done. Walker Sommer again, just another 2 goals for him. A 4-point night. Bjorkley Nordstrom, he got a couple. He got the game winning penalty shot. And also a couple assists as well. So credit, you got to credit Sheffield as well for getting that win after getting that late goal against them to stick with it in overtime. The moment, like we saw it against Swindon, as soon as Bristol tied it up, they had the momentum going into overtime and they got that goal. So Sheffield, they calmed it down and they got it on penalty shots in the end, which is a lottery. And it just turns out that Bristol have lost that lottery 3 times, which is unlucky. So, but yeah, it's a good point for Bristol, but it's a very big point at 2 points for Sheffield. And then on the Sunday, again, it seemed like a very similar game again. Sheffield take this one 4-3 in regulation. And if you're looking at the stats in this one, Sheffield did outshoot them 46-38. But I just think it shows Bristol are staying in these games, Dan, and it's good to see them really competitive this season. I know their fans are really happy that they're really fighting this season. They can see the players are really putting it on the line, and Nick Price got another 2 goals. But I will give credit to Jonathan Kirk. 2 goals on the Sunday, including the game-winning goal. And I think that just shows the offensive output he can give to that Sheffield team. And I like that he's one of the old boys as well who's doing it for them.
Yeah, he gets that from his brother, I think. I think Liam has been teaching him a few things. But yeah, he's just one of them guys that he just gets on and does his job. He doesn't do anything special. He's not one of these snazzy D men that skate the puck up and do a load of spinneramas, sort of throwing the puck. He just does his job. You know what you're going to get from him. Gets a few goals here and there, but he's a really composed guy. And when you got him on the blue line, you confident you can pass the puck back to him. He's got a really good eye for a pass as well. So he's one of those D men that no one really classed him as a top D man, but at this level, he does his job and he's really good at doing that job.
Oh yeah, he quarterbacks their power play as well, and he's probably the top D man I'd probably say for Sheffield, and he's taken that role this season, a very big role for them. The final double header this weekend was the Telford Tigers and the Leeds Knights. And the Leeds Knights, as we mentioned with Matt Haywood in the interview, they just get it done. 5-3 win in Leeds. They did have to wait till the last 5 minutes to win it, just like they did in the last time they played together. Sorry, against each other. But Charlie, that top line, man, Bissonnette, Barron, and Haywood, that 4 goals coming from that line. They're just getting the job done this weekend, aren't they? There always seems to be the lines and the players which step up in Leeds in those big moments, and they can always rely on a different player to get the job done because they have so many good talents.
Yeah, they're cooking at the moment in that top line. And they're an older line. It's quite funny. In a team which is so young, the 3 old boys at the moment are going for it. They're doing
Hey,
well.
Matt Barron's not too old.
No, he's not too old, but in that Leeds team, he's
Yeah,
he's
no,
one of the
no.
oldest forwards. Then that could be their 3 oldest forwards, and they're all doing very, very well. And yeah, Bissonnette. I remember seeing some Leeds fans who weren't huge fans of him at the start of the year. I think they'll probably be loving him right now because he is absolutely cooking. And yeah, Barron's having a great year, especially with goals as well. Probably going under the radar as he always does. And it was quite interesting seeing how Haywood said it didn't feel like a 10th versus second. I think Leeds are top now, but a 10th versus second at the time. Because this league isn't like that. And Telford are a good team, and their two new imports apparently settling in quite well. And Luca got 2 goals, big goals on the Sunday night, and yeah, very close battle. Telford always seem to give Leeds a good game, no matter what season it is. Thing with Telford, I always feel for them. I know they beat them away. I think a couple last year or the year before that. Always feel for Telford because they always seem to make it a 1-goal game against Leeds and they never get a point. They never even get overtime, but they always seem to give Leeds a good game. But yeah, hopefully I think that should build some momentum in the Telford dressing room. But Leeds just got the job done. They got 4 points, and yeah, again, like every team is playing well at home, and Leeds didn't drop points away, and that is important.
These teams never learn, Dan, because 12 seconds into the second period, Noah McMullen scores. Why do teams keep conceding straight from face-offs? No, it's easy to say that, but it just happens, doesn't it? And McMullen scored 12 seconds into the second, but we've seen it happen to flipping Swindon. But yeah, I feel for Telford. They've probably given absolutely everything against the best team in the National League, and they've kept it to two goals in both games and not managed to get a point from it. But I hope they take that into next weekend because they have just gone toe to toe with Leeds and they shouldn't be 10th, but they are, and they can use that and try and get a bit of momentum from it.
Yeah, the thing is, they're a team. They're just looking for that bit of momentum. Like they're looking for something. So having a game, I know they lost these games, but like you said, they can't be disheartened by this, and they do need to take a bit of momentum from it. Even it's hard with a loss, but they are getting there. And the fact that they can, like you say, go toe to toe with a team like Leeds, is they can go into games now and they can be like, we literally went toe to toe with Leeds last week. Like, there's no reason why we can't go out there and win this game. Um, it's just they just need to get a bit of energy. They need to get a bit of a spark. I think bringing those imports in did help with getting that little bit of spark. I think I said it a few weeks ago in the pod that they bringing in some new blood to a dressing room can help. And yeah, they're just a team right now that is looking for that little bit of momentum. And once they get that, and we know what Telford are like, they'll just keep firing and they'll slowly make that push back up into where they should be.
Well, we've got 10th versus 11th next weekend. Telford versus Bees doubleheader. That is going to be a big battle because we know the Bees will not give up easily. They'll give them a great game. So that was all the games from last weekend. We hope you've enjoyed our little roundups. We hope you've enjoyed the Matt Haywood interview. And we've got a tough weekend with Hull and Leeds, so I'll be making the trip up to Leeds on Sunday. But yeah, anything else to add on that, lads? I know this episode's probably gone quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm shattered. Some people won't realise, but we do record episodes rather late.
It's
It
just
is
gone 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock right now, and yeah, I think the Solway's catching up with me. Oh, we've got to give a shout out to a very special place. This place is it's known as the greatest hotel in Dumfries. This place is called the Glen Lossy Guest House. If you go to Dumfries, the Glen Lossy Guest House is a 3-star place. The window
Should
only
be
has,
six,
the window
not
has
three.
the window only has one hinge on it. 3 hinges are gone, and you can open it even more than a normal window. And yeah, very very good value for money.
Roommate, if you go and roommate, it might smell a little bit because we had some for dinner.
All right. I think we're going to cut the episode there. You tried some German, not German, what am I about?
Yeah.
Scottish everything battered, just crap.
Oh,
It battered us. Honestly, we were battered.
I think I'm still bad from it.
Right, we're going to end the episode there. We'll see you next week, and hopefully we can get a few more guests for you guys as well. Peace.